Hey everyone, wherever you happen to be on this beautiful big blue marble in the world, it may be morning, evening, or afternoon. I'm Josh Bellew with Ultra Life Today, and I'm here with
Adam Payne.
Adam Payne, the CEO and founder of Ultra Botanica, my dear friend of over 7 years, and someone who has changed the lives of so many people. And Adam, you and I, before I get to introduce our guest, we got to attend a really cool health meetup at Flourish Pharmacy 2 weeks ago, Wednesday. And would you let our listeners know who happened to be there speaking, other than you?
So this was this is something that was coming together for a while. So we've known this for a while, Josh, but all of the integrative physicians have kind of a study group meetup that they do once a month,
right,
in Oklahoma City. They meet in different places, and they do it in order to share, cross-pollinate information.
Yep.
And I think there's a core group of like 5 or 6 of them that kind of like they're stalwart. They get together.
Always. Mary Jane Fry is one of those. Keith Bishop.
And one of those, I think they get together because they they enjoy each other's company more than anything else.
No question.
Yeah. And then they actually start to share information amongst each other. In fact, we took our roots here in Oklahoma City originally when we just met up with those guys,
right,
and we were able to share with the group the new discovery we had with UltraCur, right?
Yep.
And so it was about 2 months ago. I want to set up the idea. We were having a conversation with Keith Bishop. He is the clinical nutritionist over at Flourish Pharmacy.
Yep.
And
retired pharmacist.
And we said, look, we have a deep relationship with Joe Tippins. And we're also working with the University of Oklahoma on some cancer research. Would it be at all interesting to to bring Joe to your monthly meetup and maybe bring Doris Benbrook, who's also like a heavy duty researcher,
heavy duty PhD researcher person.
Yeah. Yep. And Keith was like, yeah, well, maybe. He didn't know whether people would be interested at all.
And we only had, 30? 30 integrative and functional medicine specialists there, including our guest, who we're going to introduce in a minute.
Yeah, Keith said within the first day he had 25 people signed up for the meeting.
Instantly.
And so we knew it was going to be something special. And honestly, one of the coolest things that came out of the meetup, Joe got to speak for about 15 minutes or so, and Doris presented. But one of the coolest things that came out of it is I got to meet a new integrative physician that moved into town here.
No way.
I did. And I'm really excited about that. And she's here with us today.
I know. And Adam, you and I have prayed and asked God to send other integrative medical specialists, DOs, NDs, to Oklahoma City.
We have.
And here we are. So Dr. Deanna Windham is here with us today. I got to have a beautiful conversation with her sitting in Adam's office, learning more about her life and our journey. And we welcome you to Ultra Botanica Studios. We're so glad you're here, Deanna.
Thank you. And I am so honored to be here, Josh and Adam. I was thrilled to meet all the practitioners in Oklahoma City at the meetup. And I'm thrilled to be here in Oklahoma and to, at the appropriate time, tell you how I got here.
Hey, so Doc, why? So what kind of physician are you? So right now your street creds are what? What are your official fellowships that you've gone through, and how are you credentialed at this point?
Sure. So I'm a DO, doctor of osteopathy. Mm-hmm. And I am board certified in family practice.
Okay.
And osteopathic manipulation. And I am grandfathered in to integrative medicine. Let me explain what that means.
How can you be grandfathered into integrative medicine? That sounds really neat.
Sounds weird.
Yeah.
And neat. Yeah. So I started practicing integrative medicine as a specialty 20 years ago, before there were any residencies, any fellowships, or any training programs.
You look way too young for 20 years ago. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you're a DO, and you've been grandfathered into integrative medicine.
So integrative medicine, the way I always explain it, is that it's integrating in everything that science and research tells us will help with people's health, longevity, and disease treatment. And so I've had training in regenerative medicine, anti-aging medicine.
Oh, interesting.
And lots of different modalities over the decades.
So this is before the A4M came on as a fellowship, the Aging and Regenerative Medicine Fellowship?
Right.
So how did you get grandfathered?
I've taken a lot of courses
You
through
have?
them.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've taken enough courses to be part of their, to say that I'm been through their fellowship, but I haven't done the testing to do it.
I gotcha.
Because I just started so long ago.
I gotcha. So you've been doing this a lot longer than some of the old dogs that have been doing this in integrative medicine. I'm just curious, when did integrative medicine start being called integrative medicine? For me, it seems like a new term. Doesn't it seem like it to you?
I started using it a long time ago.
Okay.
And so in kind of the beginning years of now what I chronically refer to it as integrative medicine now.
Sure.
I'm not sure everybody would agree on that. I don't claim that. But I started with Whitaker Wellness. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Julian Whitaker.
Very much so.
I am not.
Literally 4 decades ago is what I learned of him. I was 20 years old when I heard about Julian Whitaker.
Yeah, he's amazing. He was called America's Wellness Doctor.
Oh, interesting.
He had a newsletter called Health and Healing.
Super pioneer, Adam.
Yeah. He was pioneering in medicine. He followed the research. If there was something in the research that showed that it was going to be helpful, he would bring it into the clinic. When he brought me on, I was the last of 6 doctors.
My.
And
I'm getting goosebumps. You actually spent time with this guy?
12 years I practiced with Dr. Whitaker. Yeah.
It is crazy. I will never forget, Adam, the videos I saw of him with children that had allergies to wheat. And he literally filmed them in kindergarten classes. And he showed what would happen when they put the wheat thins out on the table and would give wheat crackers to kids that actually were prone to wheat allergies and how they would literally begin to misbehave. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, he wasn't the first doctor that came up with that, but he did help to make it, to bring it more
mainstream.
to people's.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you even go in that direction? I mean, so set the stage for us, Deanna. So you go to medical school, but even before that, why medicine for you?
Oh, it was long before that for me. So,
really?
Yeah, as a child, I used to play doctor. So I had a doctor's set, and I would, play doctor with my friends.
Where did you grow up?
Northern California, Santa Rosa. Just north of
it's a
San
beautiful
Francisco.
area. I love Santa Rosa. Mm-hmm. In fact, I got married in Santa Rosa for the first time. That's like a really trivia question of the week, right?
We'll cover that on another interview. That's probably a long story.
It's up at Russian River, that whole area. You're beautiful. Yeah.
That's where a large part of my family is still. And I have a lot of family in Santa Rosa, Petaluma, Grayton, the whole, Guernsville, Forestville, just that whole area.
So you grew up thinking, I'm going to be a doctor. So you were one of the kids in kindergarten that said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you would say, doctor? Maybe? But
I didn't know that doctors were what they actually were. So let me preface this a little bit.
Come on.
This is rich. I love this.
My grandparents on my father's side were, now I don't believe they would have explained themselves this way.
Okay.
But I like to say they were kind of hippie-ish before that was cool to be. They grew their own food. They had nanny goats, and they milked the nanny goats for me so that I had fresh goat's milk.
Oh, wow.
Any wild-crafted herbs?
They did have wild-crafted herbs. They got honey from the bees.
Nice.
And I believe that this approach is actually, and then my grandmother on my mother's side was what, again, I do not believe she would call herself this, but I called her a kitchen witch. Post-mortem.
Great. I'm borrowing that term. I love that.
Yeah, she used herbs. And I was really sick one day, and my mom was out of town working, and my grandmother did not drive. I believe she had a phone, but I don't think she used it very much. And I was really sick. She went and cooked something up in the kitchen, and I drank it, and I as to her report, I bounced out of bed and went out to play.
So is that how you're grandfathered in? Literally grandparents?
Right. Grandparents on both
That's
sides.
awesome.
So it sounds like your family were naturalists at some
Yes.
degree. So very much so. What were by profession? What were your mom and dad?
My mom is a self-made woman. She started as a teller at one of the common banks in Northern California and worked her way up to be senior vice president of the bank.
Oh, wow.
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And my dad is a construction worker, cabinetry maker,
So-
very talented with wood.
Wow. So really kind of salt of the earth people, very much grounded. And you grew up in this environment of kind of the hippie naturalist culture of Northern California. And you found yourself on this journey. So where'd you go to college?
So may I interrupt the story?
Yeah, and Diane and Deanna, with a couple of minutes left before break here. Yes, please say. Got a couple of minutes.
Okay, so I wanted to say that my path was interrupted by illness throughout my life.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
started becoming sick with nobody knew what it was when I was 9 months old. And so
What happened?
I developed a rash, but it was a very persistent rash, and it was troublesome because it would get so bad that it would bleed. And, I was an infant. Nobody knew what was going on. My mom took me to doctor after doctor. As I grew up, I developed more and more medical problems over the years, and more doctors, more and more specialties, more and more separate diagnoses that were never put
So was this a
together.
form of atopy that you had?
It actually ended up being psoriasis that turned into
I was
psoriatic
going to say,
arthritis.
Adam has such a connection here. Hey, this is Ultra Life Today. You've been listening to Adam Payne, Dr. Deanna Windham, DO, board certified family practice and anti-aging and regenerative medicine. And I'm Josh Bellew, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Ultra Life Today. By the way, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for telling your friends about our podcasts. You can go to UltraCur, ULTRACUR on Facebook, or you can go to our YouTube channel, UltraCur, and you'll find, Adam, possibly 30 archived episodes from really interesting people like Dr.
It's definitely
Deanna
over
Windham.
30. We've had some really interesting interviews.
Oh,
Dr.
yes.
Robert Erdell recently.
Yep.
Keith Bishop, Mary Jane Fry. These are
Dr.
great.
Joseph Parita.
Dr. Joe
like
Parita's
key
on there.
opinion leaders.
Yeah.
Stem cell therapy, right?
We try to really bring into the table here people that have had such an interesting journey and a unique perspective on health and wellness that it intrigues me. If it intrigues me, I want them at the table.
Yeah. Yes. So we met Dr. Windham a couple of weeks ago on a Wednesday night at a health meetup in Oklahoma City. She is a transplanted Northern Californian back to Okie roots, kind of. And we're having a blast talking to her and hearing about her journey on becoming an individual that helps other people understand what's wrong with their health and how they can change that. So, hey, so good to have you.
Thank you.
So
It's
you
so
were
great to be
so you were mentioning you got into you had all of these health challenges. So is that what kind of keyed you in that you wanted to be a part of the medical community? What was your aha moment that said, I want to be sitting in that chair?
So as I was kind of going through my life, I believe that my grandparents and their outlook on life is what kept me going and kept me healthier than I otherwise would have been. And I always thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I thought that doctors were more like my grandparents. And I thought they did things that were more healing. And I imagined learning about herbs and natural ways to keep people healthy. So I didn't actually begin seeing a lot of doctors that I recall until I was in my early teen years, when my health issues started to become more serious.
And what was that like, Deanna, as compared to your grandparents and what you thought were these are healers? All of a sudden you're introduced to conventional medical practitioners, right? What was that like for you?
It was quite a shock for me. I had been transplanted from Northern California to Oklahoma at that point.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom remarried, and she married the man that I call my father because for all intents and purposes, he's raised me
Beautiful.
and been there my whole life.
That's great.
And so I was in Oklahoma. My grandparents were no longer there. That might have been one of the reasons that my health was declining.
Okay.
And as I was having more problems and going to see doctors in these very clinical offices with white coats and no herbs and doing tests on me and blood draws, and then some very, for a teenager, embarrassing and horrible testing that they did on me, it became really scary. And I saw a journal entry that I made when I was 16 talking about how the doctors had said I was going to live with a life of pain and probably be debilitated.
That's terrible.
Which was totally different. You and I spoke while Adam was preparing the studio about attitude and mindset. And you referenced your grandparents just a minute ago about how they imprinted upon you a mindset. And all of a sudden you're reading stuff that is totally antithetical to that. It's like, this is what's going to happen to this girl. Right?
It's almost like sometimes these comments can really program people and they become this victim mentality. And I've seen this over and over again where people get a self-image of themselves as being, I have been told I'm going to be sick, and then therefore they adopt an attitude of always being sick.
Yeah.
And that's, so how did you overcome that? I mean, you must have.
Yeah. At that point, my grandfather was still alive, and he and I had a very active writing relationship.
Awesome.
Those were back in the
Nothing
times
like
people
writing.
actually wrote.
That's amazing.
I remember that. Yes.
Amazing.
And something about, I don't remember, and I unfortunately didn't keep any of the letters, but something about that just kind of kept me strong. And I feel my grandparents here with me, by the way, every day.
Makes sense.
And I just, my brain just denied that and said, I just don't really believe that. I believe that there are answers. And I also come from a very strong spiritual upbringing. And I believe that God and life has all the answers. I believe that human bodies are made to heal.
Beautiful.
That's a great foundation to live by. Yes.
And so when they told me these things, at first, I'm a teenager. I kind of fell into that a little bit, I'll admit. But I couldn't stay there long. I just have this spirit that says, I don't think that's right. And I feel like I'm here to bring something to the world. And even as a teenager, this idea started to develop in me that I'm here to bring a different idea to the medical field. That this isn't how it's supposed to be.
That's iconoclastic. Do you know that word, Adam? I bet you do.
I've heard it before.
Might have to go to the dictionary.
Yeah, there you go.
But I really felt that I was here to help change the face of medicine.
Nice.
And so I decided.
So you were a girl with a mission at that point.
Right. I decided
Conviction
to go
and passion, they're one of our favorite things, right, Adam?
There you go.
I decided to go into medicine to be subversive and
partly iconoclastic. She's getting there.
Okay.
Subversive.
So just as a note to the editor, please put iconoclastic with a definition on the screen
Going
for people.
against the grain.
For those of us that
salmon
don't
swimming
remember what
upstream.
that definition is. So where did you go? So undergraduate degree, where did you end up?
I went to OU.
Oh, wow. Okay, here in town. And where did you end up for your DO degree?
So I was accepted first to the OU Medical School.
Okay.
I got to ask the year. Is that okay? Because I grew up in Norman. And so we talked earlier about the fact we were probably in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, 1999 I graduated.
Crazy. Okay. Very nice.
So I decided to 96 is when I graduated from OU.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I do that all the time. And I was accepted to OU Medical School, but I had been doing a lot of research about the types of doctors, and I was actually questioning my path at this point. And should I really become a doctor because of what doctors do? And I had done some rotations at doctors' offices, and I really didn't like what I saw.
Osteopath is beginning to make sense to me.
Right.
One of my dad's favorite doctors used to do osteopathic manipulation. I think he taught at OU at one time. I can't think of his name right now. But people would go to him that you would never think would go to that kind of doctor.
Right.
And they'd get well.
And I read about A.T. Still and this amazing doctor that did osteopathic manipulation on horses that were problematic.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the amazing work that he did. And so I held out and decided that if I wasn't accepted to the OSU College of Osteopathic Medicine, that I would wait and apply the next year. And so I applied to OSU COM, as we called it, and I called them every week. Said, you guys, I'm still here. I'm still waiting to hear.
So you do realize that you have just united our audience because we have tons of OU and tons of OSU people. She loves them both, guys.
I do.
There you go.
I love Oklahoma, and I think we've got some amazing schools here, and I think we've got amazing people here.
Well, it's a great
This
community.
guy has a deep background in the research community here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, no, it's a great community, but you decided to leave Oklahoma after you got your DO degree. Did you go on to any other fellowships after your DO?
So I did
Where did you do your family medicine residency? I guess that's the question.
I was actually accepted in a neurology residency at UCLA.
Wow.
And-
Dude.
Yeah, and for that,
High
you
five.
have to get an internship on your own.
Oh, wow.
So I got an internship at Brooklyn Hospital in New York, and I started there, and I do not want to speak ill of any medical community, but I will say that coming from an osteopathic background, which is very supportive and very it is a more holistic upbringing. And then being thrown into an allopathic, cutthroat, we really don't care about you background, in which I didn't feel that my training was what I really wanted
Going
it to
from a
be.
personal relationship to a number and a name. That's
Right.
scary.
And so I left there mid-internship. And I joined an osteopathic family practice internship in Chino Valley, California, where they had somebody that had left. So they had an opening.
So you found a space, you recreated a space for yourself.
Correct.
And told the allopaths to go stick it, right?
Right? I dodged there, and
I'm
I've
so
never
glad
looked
you
back.
said that, Adam. That if I said that, people would take offense.
Oh, well.
You've lived among them.
Yeah. So it's,
So that's how I ended up in California.
yeah. Did you end up going to the neurology rotation? No.
I did not.
You stayed in family
I
practice.
stayed in family practice. I love neurology. I love the brain. And I still do to this day, which is why I say that I'm a psychoneuroimmunologist, which again predates the
Ooh,
actual
say that
name.
fast 3 times.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
a tough one. And
Psychoneuroimmunologist.
Yeah. Well, there, subclinical inflammation in the brain, huge problem, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have
See
to
a lot of
introduce you to
that.
Dr. Patrick Ellis down in Norman. He's a DO
Mm-hmm.
and he's a psychiatrist. And he's a brilliant and lovely man. Adam and I have spent time with him before.
Do you know him?
You got to meet him.
Do you know
he,
Dr.
he
Ellis?
used to come
No.
to the meetups, but he's just so busy these days.
Yeah.
You got to
But
meet
I
him.
have heard of him.
Yeah. We got to do lunch with all of us sometime.
So you got your, you did your family medicine rotation, and you finish your residency. You get your certification from the board. You get expelled into life. What happened to you?
Well, I
Chino,
kind of got
California,
stuck
right?
in the birth canal.
Oh, that was so good. And we've got 3 minutes left in this segment,
All
so
right.
keep going.
So at the end of my residency, I still wasn't diagnosed with autoimmune disease. Nobody
interesting.
really knew
So
what
were you
was
still
going
This
on.
is a 9-month-old thing, right?
Right.
You were manifesting at 9 months old. Oh my gosh.
And it went into gut issues and
So
skin
were you
issues
kind of
and brain
relapsing,
issues.
remitting on these? But did you have this?
And I did the best I could. I would research, I would take supplements, I would talk to naturopaths, I would talk to nutrition store owners, I would read books. It was before
So
the
did
internet.
you have the skin issues issues, or were you one of those few psoriatic arthritis people that had no skin and just the...
No, I had skin issues. If I bent my knees at one point, my knees would bleed. I had to wrap my knees to go to work so that they wouldn't see that I was bleeding. Wow. And I just handled things as well as I could. But near the end of my residency, everything broke down.
So what years was this when you were really manifesting psoriasis at this level?
Pretty much throughout the entire 90s, it started getting really bad.
So you were dealing with all of this right up until the time you graduated from college?
It was concurrent
Now,
with all of my training.
Did you have a diagnosis of psoriasis at that point?
Throughout my college career, at one point I was diagnosed with depression, which I now know was autoimmune disease impacting my brain.
Yep.
I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome.
Which is the overspill of the immune system into your central nervous system, right?
Right. I was diagnosed with colonitis, and I was diagnosed with idiopathic hives, which we now know is autoimmune urticaria.
Right.
So, just all of these separate diagnoses
these
over
fun
the
labels
years.
to have, as we talked about earlier.
Okay.
Writing these labels
So
on your
you
life.
must have gotten really frustrated with yourself and really wanted to know what was going on with you.
Well, life almost came to a halt. I got really sick and septic with MRSA.
What?
And they thought I was just colonized on my skin from working at hospitals and LTACs, which is long-term acute care facilities, where I was moonlighting during my residency. And so nobody really believed that was going on until I was actually septic. And then by the time I was admitted to the hospital and put on IV antibiotics to try to fight the MRSA, they discovered that I had systemic lupus.
Okay, this is an absolutely beautiful place for us to hit the pause button, because if you're listening, you're going to come back to hear the rest of this story. This is Ultra Life Today. I'm sitting here with my dear friend Adam Payne, CEO and founder of Ultra Botanica.
And I'm sitting here with Josh Bellew, and we have...
Yeah, Dr. Deanna Windham is in studio with us
So if you've been
today.
listening, you're going to have to wait till next week for the big
right,
reveal.
that's right.
So we'll be coming back right after the break. You'll be hearing us live here in studio, so stay tuned.
Absolutely.
This is Ultra Life Today.